Coming up on this edition of Carolina Insider, getting a job might be easier for some professions in South Carolina. Next, as finals week approaches, USC has some unusual guests to ease student stress.
Seeing these guys is just the best.
But first, new bills concerning diversity, equity, and inclusion are being proposed that could affect universities statewide. Carolina Insider starts now. Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Haley Bowick. Our top story today, University of South Carolina officials have confirmed that 2 professors accused of sexual harassment are no longer employed. David Voros was a painting professor who has not taught classes since 2020. He officially retired last January. After being barred from teaching classes in 2021, theater professor Robert Richmond will resign effective July 1st. In other university news, South Carolina Republican lawmakers have proposed 2 bills that could change diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in universities statewide. First, one bill proposes that public universities cannot promise admissions benefits to students based on race, ethnicity, or other demographics. The second bill would require public universities must report the number of administrative and non-teaching positions that support DEI initiatives every year. This bill would also prohibit universities from requiring diversity trainings. Both bills remain in committee. Another new bill could make it easier for some state residents to enter the workforce by removing license requirements. Here now with more on that in Pure Politics is Jada Kirkland at the State House. Jada?
Thank you, Haley. What do hair braiders, psychologists, funeral home directors, and teachers have in common? Well, a new bill in the State House could end the licensing requirements for these professions as well as several others.
Mariah Leak is a junior management student at USC, and she braids hair at Sugar Braids on Decker Boulevard in Columbia. Leak started braiding in 2020 and got her braider's license last year. She says being a licensed braider gives clients confidence and is important for health and safety.
Different people have different conditions of the scalp that you may not know about, and I think it's just important to understand that because a lot of braiders don't.
However, a new bill in the state could end the licensing requirements for hair braiders, psychologists, professional counselors, and 12 other jobs. Representative Jordan Pace, a sponsor of the Entrepreneur Freedom Act, says the goal is to make it easier for people to enter the market.
Anytime you have licensing, it is a barrier of entry into the marketplace.
Licensing requirements for hair braiders include a 6-hour class, an exam, and a $25 fee. However, USC psychology professor Stephen Taylor says the road to licensing for psychologists is longer.
Someone who decides now, hey, I want to go be a psychologist, it's going to be at least 11 years until they come back to South Carolina to do that. And because we have such a scarcity of providers, I could see the positive side, or at least the intent behind.
According to the American Psychological Association, by 2030, South Carolina is projected to have the 3rd highest shortage for psychologists. Still, Taylor thinks the bill poses some red flags.
Really important to make sure that anyone who is going into the field has some sort of regulating body.
Pace says the bill needs work and is unlikely to pass. So for now, braiders like Leak will continue to need a license. Back to you in the studio, Haley.
Thanks, Jada. In national politics, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis plans to make his first public appearance as a presidential candidate here in the Palmetto State. According to the state newspaper, State Senator Josh Kimbrell will host DeSantis in Spartanburg next Wednesday. DeSantis has been traveling across the U.S. to gain votes for his presidential campaign for primary elections. Amongst other ideas, DeSantis is campaigning against classroom lessons on sexual orientation and gender identity for students in 3rd grade or younger. South Carolina's primary election is on June 11th. Students on USC's campus found an unusual source of stress relief on Davis Field this week. As the semester comes to an end, Elleberry Farm brought llamas for good luck before finals. Elleberry Farm is owned by the Justice family in North Carolina. They do shows and travel around the U.S. for educational purposes. Donna Justice said the biology department reached out to them to bring the llamas as therapy before finals. The farm is 40 years old, but her daughter got involved with llamas 8 years ago.
Llamas are very soothing, they're very calm, and so we were just glad to be able to bring them out here and teach everybody about the camelid species, and then just let them have some llama selfies and some llama hugs.
Students posed for photos and pet the llamas. There were also llama shirts and hats available for purchase. Animal therapy like petting zoos and dogs on Davis Field have been popular attractions to relieve stress this semester. Speaking of finals, we're about to wrap up our own work for the spring. Carolina Insider returns next week for the last newscast of the semester, so be sure to join us here on Wednesday in the Kennedy Greenhouse studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communications. See you then.